world travelers of the interwebs, I'm Alexa, resident ookie spooky girly, and today we're going to virtually explore some locations that give me the creeps and definitely won't be on my must-see lists anytime soon. So question for you, what's your dream trip location? Mine is to visit Europe, so let me know yours in the comments, and stick around until the end of today for another edition of comment section shoutouts. And on that note, welcome to the top 5 mysterious places scarier than Area 51. Number 5, the Vatican Secret Archives. Look, I'm gonna start today off by saying it's no secret I am highly critical of the Vatican, and I believe that they should be challenged so much more than they already are. They have too much control and they know it. Their archives have inspired much suspicion and speculation over the years, believed to contain proof of aliens and predictions of the apocalypse, and the Pope's secret stash of no-no videos. Hey look, the popes weren't always celibate. Was I the only one who knew that? Did y'all know that orgies have been held in the Vatican? I know, mind-boggling. So the structure contains 85 kilometers of bookshelves, and it wasn't until very recently that the Pope opened up the secret archives to select members of the public, and even that is still restricted to such an extreme that I wouldn't really call it open. You have to apply for access, and reapply every 6 months if you get lucky enough to get granted access. Now, no one is allowed to request anything specific, but they'll be given assorted dossiers of the most random and heavily redacted information. And essentially, it's a take it or leave it kind of situation. So imagine going to the library, you're gonna borrow a textbook, like a history textbook, but you're gonna have to supply the same amount of paperwork you need to rent an apartment, only for the librarian to tell you that you have to wait 6 months, so you go back and you get handed a random stack of magazines instead. There is allegedly endless correspondence between the Pope and famous historical figures like Michelangelo, Mozart, Queen Elizabeth, Abraham Lincoln, and the evil German dictator whose name I can't say, to name a few. Heck, there's even documents about the trials of the Knights Templar and Galileo. There are letters from King Henry VIII in which he tried to convince the Pope to grant his divorce from Catherine of Aragon so that he could marry his true love, Anne Boleyn, if you know 6. Mary, Queen of Scots, pleaded for the Pope to save her life right before she was executed. It just kind of illustrates the power that the Pope has wielded throughout human history, which in my opinion is a little too much. Some of these documents date as far back as the 8th century. There's allegedly also papal account books, a letter from Michelangelo to Pope Julius II, and Martin Luther's excommunication document. Hey look, after everything I know about the Vatican Bank, I would love to get my hands on those accounting books. Now, in 1988, news reports emerged that strange, elongated, distinctly alien-looking skulls had been found during a restoration of the Vatican Library, with many suggesting that the Vatican secret archives must be hiding evidence of extraterrestrials. Perhaps an understanding between the Vatican and extraterrestrials is too far out there, too convenient to contemplate, but the Vatican itself doesn't really run from ties to aliens. Consider the words of Cardinal Conrado Balducci, a high-ranking Vatican official since the 1960s and close friend to many popes, who in 1998 instructed followers to remember a paragraph of the New Testament where St. Paul refers to Christ as King of the universe, not only as King of the world. That means all beings in the universe, including aliens, are reconcilable with God. Hey, the current Pope has also said he's gonna baptize an alien, so I guess that's progress for the church. When pressed, however, the official spokesperson for the archives admits that there remains a section that really is secret. Nobody has access to that part. No journalists, no prominent scholars, no one. Look, I don't care if I sound like a broken record. It is way too suspicious. Sadly, I'll never be able to explore it for myself. Maybe somebody will break in this lifetime. The gal can help. Number 4, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So many Americans believe a UFO and its extraterrestrial crew crash-landed in the New Mexico desert near Roswell on July 2nd of 1947. This Canadian also believes that. I also believe that the site was cleaned up by the Air Force from nearby Roswell Army Air Force Base. Yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Eyewitnesses reported that a couple of 3-foot-tall gray-skinned aliens died in the crash, and according to Lauren Coleman, the co-author of Weird Ohio, them and their space vessel were shipped off to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base's notorious Hangar 18. Now, everybody and their mother's been trying to get in there ever since. Senator Barry Goldwater supposedly asked USAF General Curtis LeMay if he could see what was inside, and LeMay told the senator that not only could he not get in, don't ask me again. Real suspicious if you ask me. Now, the Roswell crash wasn't the only extraterrestrial crash in the US, because, we all know better. Some folks allege there were more before 1952, and so, and all the debris and their pilots, with blue-green skin this time, were all taken to, this exact airport. One of the crashes held as many as 16 alien bodies. Yet another crash yielded a ship made of lightweight material, impenetrable by any earthly means. So whenever a UFO crash happens, the wreckage is sent to the, Wright-Pat to be reverse engineered if, Area 51's a little too busy, because that's the main, headquarters for all this stuff. Some believe technologies gleaned from the UFOs at Wright-Pat include fiber optics, lasers, night vision, and the integrated circuit, and particle beams. In other news though, Henry H. Hap Arnold was the only person to ever be dubbed General of the Air Force. So as a major, he once lived on a house near Huffman Prairie, which has since been named after him, where the Wright brothers worked on their planes, which is now, the Wright-Pat Air Force Base. How did you you guess? So for years, visitors reported strange noises, objects moving on their own, odd shadows, and other phenomena. The Sci-Fi Network show Ghost Hunters visited the Arnold house and found that at least 5 entities live in the house. The Ghost Hunters heard sounds from the bathroom, girls laughing in the dining room, specters turning on the lights, and so forth and so on. Now, if we want to talk about specifically haunted artifacts, parts from the Lady Be Good, a B-24 that disappeared during a run on Italy, are said to rearrange themselves, kind of like a puzzle, like here, there. The POW exhibit is supposed to make visitors feel an inexplicable sense of sick dread as they approach. Now, some airmen report that ghosts actually show up for work. They walk in the doors, they open the lockers, go in the break room. Even Yahtzees are reported to show up to the World War II exhibit. Yeah, no thanks. The Black Mariah is a Sikorsky CH-3E helicopter transport used for classified missions that kind of sits in the museum, and it's still filled with holes. And what do you know? People say you can hear the moans and voices of the troops it carried. What else? Oh, a young Japanese boy is said to hang around the Boxcar, the B-29 that dropped the Fat Man on Nagasaki, Japan, and supposedly comes out at night when, there's just a few people around. Yeah, he's kind of shy. The Hopalong is a Sikorsky UH-19B that would medvac troops in Korea and Vietnam, and the museum staff say they see the pilot in the seat, flipping switches and still trying to get home, which is honestly so sad. Oh, and the seat is actually still stained with the pilot's redness, which breaks my heart. And finally, the museum's Strawberry Bitch supposedly houses the only malevolent spirits at this museum. Now, reports of rattles and clanks, shadowy figures, and strange lights are common. One former janitor claims a ghost from the B-24D even slapped him in the face. Yeah, hard pass on visiting there. Number 3, Easter Island. So the history of Easter Island, its statues, and its peoples has long been shrouded in mystery. Some have suggested that aliens marooned on Earth, planted their statues as signals to their fellow aliens to rescue them. Now, others have said that the statues were constructed by a great race of guilders that were stranded on the island and built them before being rescued. Oh no, I'm just waiting for it to move down. Still, others are convinced that an ancient society with the capability of flight constructed them, along with the Nazca lines in Peru. The 900 or so carved faces that make up the Moai statues of Easter Island are shrouded in mystery. On average, the figures weigh around 14 tons, while many are significantly heavier, and it's thought that they were created by the Rapa Nui people more than 1,000 years ago, carved from a quarry on the island. But how were they transported to their permanent locations on said island? And why are so many unfinished, as if the workers who built them vanished overnight? This tiny speck in the Pacific Ocean can hardly have been an easy place for humans to colonize and survive on. And no one knows for sure what happened to the folks who lived there, who are thought to have carved the statues. Scientists' best guess is that an environmental disaster caused by the overexploitation of local resources may have led to a decline that virtually wiped out the society. But this view has been challenged, and there remains many unanswered questions, like how were the statues moved around the island? What tools were used to carve them? Could it be aliens? Number 2, the Aokigahara Forest. Number 2, the Aokigahara Forest. Yeah, northwest of the majestic Mount Fuji is this forest. You've all heard of it. 13.5 square miles of forest so thick with foliage that it's known as the Sea of Trees. Now, many visitors have chosen this place as a setting for their final moments, walking in with no intention of ever walking back out. So much so that this area has the second highest rate of lives ending in the world after the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. In years past, this forest was also believed to contain yurei, or the mythological Japanese ghosts filled with anger and vengefulness. Its grim history made the woods a fitting location for the 2016 horror film, by the way, The Forest. An apt title, if you ask me. Now, the forest trees organically twist and turn, their roots winding across the forest floor in treacherous threads. Because of its location at the base of a mountain, the ground is uneven, rocky, and perforated with hundreds of caves. But more jarring than its tricky terrain is the feeling of stillness. The trees are too tightly packed for winds to whip through, and the wildlife is sparse. Some visitors also reported strange phenomena, like compasses breaking, as well as GPS devices and smartphones no longer working. Heck, what are we gonna do without our phone? The internet is littered with disturbing images from the forest, from abandoned personal effects in the undergrowth to human bones. If you dare to venture into this legendary place, please do as the signs suggest and stay on the path. I like people. I would like people to live. Number 1, the Paris Catacombs. Deep underground the city of Paris are hundreds of miles of tunnels in a complex network that is, by the way, one of the oldest in the world. It's a darker city that few tourists experience due to the high risk of danger. Like, people often get lost. The walls can collapse at any moment, so many who venture there wear miners' helmets. There's no electricity among the endless winding canals, corridors, and crypts filled with mounds of unidentified skulls, which are estimated to be about 6 million deceased Parisians. No biggie. There are parts so tight that you have to line your belly and slither forward like an inchworm. Only a small section of the catacombs is accessible to tourists, while the rest has been illegal to enter since 1955. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't explore the tourist accessible areas. Heck, I want to visit those myself, but stay out of the illegal ones. So yes, there's a whole, slew of urban explorers who frequent the catacombs and call themselves cataphiles, which I must admit is a very smart moniker. They paint, sculpt, and create other art, while also building false walls, trapdoors, and secret chutes to keep away the cataflics or catacombs who try to catch them trespassing. Now you gotta know a cataphile who can be your guide to even try and explore the unknown, or else you're gonna get stuck or lost for who knows how long. Now, as much as I love exploring history, especially creepy history, the thought of getting lost in such a cursed place is a type of scared I'm not fond of and don't particularly ever want to experience. And that brings us to the end of our list, which means it's time for some comment section shoutouts. From top 5 terrifying upcoming 2024 horror movies, user Kevin Leroy 2738 said, "The only horror movie I'm interested in watching is supernatural horror movie. Only slashers, which are disgusting and boring and highly outrageous, which I would walk out the movie theaters and take the food that I brought at the movie theater to go." Hey look, I have some friends that would probably end my friendship if I ever considered slashers boring, but I agree with you on preferring supernatural scary flicks. Now from the same video, user Bungalow Bill 7941 said, "Terrifier was just mediocre paint by the numbers gore with a few more buckets of redness thrown in and a weird anorexic clown that looks like he could use a steak dinner or two." Well, I think that's the end of reading comments today. I'll leave that opinion for, y'all to debate amongst yourselves. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more mysterious content from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.